Which of the following statement is not true about aluminium? So we'll just basically look at the ones that aren't true first. So it's not B, which are true, sorry. So B is true. It's a very important structural metal. If you want to fly, we use aluminium. If you want to make very high-speed devices, you'd be using aluminium. If you want to make very lightweight devices, you'd use aluminium. Okay, so B is not the answer. C, as I mentioned, it's lightweight and very strong, so C is true as well. And D is actually very true as well. Aluminium is one of the best conductors next to copper and silver. So it's way up there in electrical conductivity. So D is also true. So A is the only one that's left, and A is the incorrect one. So it's not true. So it's the correct answer. So it's normally extracted from ore using coke in a blast furnace. This isn't true. Iron is extracted this way, but aluminium is extracted from its ore using electricity and several other chemical processes. So A is the correct answer in this case. So car bodies are made of steel. Which of the following types of steel would be used? Okay, so which one would we use here? Okay, so high carbon steel is probably not good for a car because high carbon steel is very brittle and you don't want your car shattering if you hit something. High carbon steel is probably not a good choice. Tool steel, you could maybe make it out of tool steel if you really wanted to, but why is the question? It would cost twice as much, probably way more, and also it would be overly strong for the process. So it's sort of overkill, so to speak, so you probably wouldn't use that. And the same goes for structural steel. You probably wouldn't use structural steel for cars, and also the sort of fatigue properties of these things may not be right for cars. So cars experience the same sort of cycles of fatigue, whereas structural steel may not experience that kind of fatigue at all. So you may not want to use structural steel for your car. So the best option is D, mild steel. So mild steel is good, it's flexible, it's not as strong as these ones, but you don't need a car to be, as strong as a tank. If it crashes into something, unfortunately, you want it to crumple a little bit so that it absorbs some of that energy and you don't get that energy transferred into you. So mild steel is probably the best choice. The chronological order of use of metals by humans is which one? So we can see straight away native metals is the first one, so that doesn't help us. Okay? So obviously we learned how to use native metals first because we found them out of the ground. So we just picked it up and said, oh, this is an interesting piece of metal, an interesting substance, which I'll call metal. So we learned how to use those first. So obviously we learned how to use native metals before anything else, simply because we didn't have to refine them. So it took no technological knowledge to get them in the first place. So then what came next? Well, it can't be an alloy because we would have had to learn how to extract the metal first, then alloy it to use the alloy. So it can't be this one because bronze is an alloy. So that leaves these three. So the next one that we learned how to use was copper. So copper has been around for a long time. We've learned how to use copper over centuries. So it's between these two. Now after we learned how to use copper, then we learned how to alloy. So then we learned how to make bronze, and that's why we have the Bronze Age during sort of the Roman period. So after we learned how to make copper, we learned how to alloy, which is bronze. And then after that, we finally developed iron during the Iron Age. So the Chinese developed the blast furnace, the Europeans followed suit after. And so during the Iron Age, we learned how to make steel through alloying again. And then so we had the medieval knights, fighting each other with swords and armor and things like that made of steel. So the correct answer is C. We learned how to use native metals because we could just pick them up off the ground. Then we found out how to extract copper because it was very easy. Then we learned how to alloy to make bronze, which started the Bronze Age. And then after we learned how to make bronze, we found out, the Chinese discovered how to make iron, so how to refine iron. So then we learned how to use iron and then steel, okay? So C is our answer.